Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Preparedness 2021. If you guys are not familiar with this channel, what I do is every Sunday Eastern Standard Time at 7 a.m. I will have one of these videos up. It's to help prepare you for 2021. Also, check back in the archives. You can check out all the Preparedness 2020 and all the other videos that I have out there. Now, guys, what I really need from you guys is to like, subscribe, hit the little thumbs up button, do all that good stuff. Put some comments down below on what you think of this video and videos like this. It really helps the algorithms. Also, become a Patreon member, and it's only $1 a month. That's all it is to become a Patreon member. Help support the channel, and check out all the links down below. The links down below are all my social media links, and of course Amazon. If you are an Amazon member, you have Amazon Prime, all the shipping is free. All the knives that you see here I will put on one link, and then you can go and take a look at what you need to take a look at. And if you purchase something, I think I get like 2 cents on the dollar, so thank you for your 2 cents. Alright, so what we're going to talk about today is survival machetes. If you guys have been watching my channel, you know I've been doing a series of survival cutting tools. So started with axes, went to survival knives, and now we're at survival machetes. The biggest thing that I need you to understand about the stuff that I'm doing here is I am trying to give you ideas. I'm not telling you that this is the end all or this is the way things should be. I'm just basically stating that, hey, listen, this is what I kind of do, and if you like it, that's great. If you live in a different climate, you live in a different area, you live in a wooded environment or a frozen environment, or you live in the mountains, your tools will dictate which ones that you use, okay? Obviously, that kind of makes sense. So what we're going to do today is basically just go over some of the tools that I have here on the table. Now, understand that these are my tools, these are my collection, these are the ones that I use in my environment. Your tools in your environment is going to be completely different. I don't think that all the tools here are the best, but I just have certain criteria when it comes to machetes. Now, a machete, I mean, by definition, would probably look something along this line, something along the lines of, like, let's say a Latin style machete, where it would be, I don't know, maybe 16 to 18 inches, some type of handle, plastic, lightweight, probably made of a 1055, very thin material. This happens to be cold steel. And they don't always come with a sheath. That's something you should understand. This happens to be a larger one. This is a Latin machete again, and this is a very, very long machete. Now, for me, I live in the Northeast. Okay, the Northeast does not require a machete at all, although it does help with certain vegetation and that kind of thing. So I have taken these to the forest. Now, where I live, or where I go to go hiking or hunting, it's wooded area with a lot of rocks and trees, you know, plenty of water, that kind of thing, but it's not a jungle, it's a forest, all right, forested land. It's a little bit different. So in the summer months, or in the, I want to say, spring months, a machete is very useful. But normally, if I was doing any type of heavy chopping, I'm going to use something like an axe, all right? So these are useful. Now, the criteria behind this, and just to clear up any of your thoughts or my thoughts, what I'm trying to do is, with a machete or machete type device or cutting tool, what I'm trying to do is either get from A to B, or I'm building a shelter. That's it. So if you can keep those two type of criterias in mind, I think it would be a lot easier for you to do. So if I'm clearing an area, that means either A, I'm clearing a field, I'm doing some work, maybe I'm a homesteader, that kind of thing, or maybe I'm going to a location that's very heavily wooded. In a military application, especially in jungle environments, they come in very, very handy. This happens to be in Ontario. This is the one that I actually used during my time in the military. Okay, very thick. It's a little bit thicker, OD green. I had to resharpen and reprofile it quite a bit. Has a lanyard hole on it, and the sheet that they issue is really crappy. So what I did is I got the plastic Rathco sheet with the sharpener on it. All right, it works. And again, this was to get from A to B, okay? So I'm clearing an area to help myself move to a location. So a machete is very good for that. If I was a homesteader and I needed to clear an area, okay, a machete also good for that. Let's say a farmer or something like that. Again, that kind of thing, all right? So here's another one, just to give you another idea. This is a Cold Steel. I think this is the two-handed Parang machete. This thing is ridiculously large, but it's two-handed, all right? So what this does is it allows me a little bit of reach, okay? Really nice for, again, like I said, if I'm clearing a large area or swath of an area that I need to, let's say, grow vegetables or foods or something like that, it kind of works. But more of a farm implement versus anything else. Yes, and there are people that will say, well, you know, zombie apocalypse and all that stuff. And again, Cold Steel was kindest enough to brandish with the two-handed katana machete. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's just basically a large piece of steel with a large handle that you can use in different handholds, okay? And again, I think it's important to have these type of cutting tools, but really, when it comes to survival machetes, you're probably going to want something a little bit smaller. Here's another Cold Steel just to give you guys an idea. All right, this is just a very large chopping Cold Steel machete. And Cold Steel doesn't always make these very, very sharp out of the box, so you'll have to do a little bit of work, and it's just a big piece of steel. And again, what I don't like also is that the fact that a lot of these machetes don't come with sheaths. Again, because it's a farm implement, all right? A lot of times you're going to take something like this, you're not really going to need a sheath for it. You're just going to throw it in the back of the tractor and then go to work and then throw it back in the tractor and maybe in a shed or something like that, so it's not necessary. All right, but what I'm really talking about is something that is going to be used for survival, something that you need to cut and make shelter, okay? So I myself here, Three River Blades, we make something like this. Now, again, this was a prototype. This was called the K-Chetty, but what this is, if the regular machete is the 1/7, if you go up on the website, you'll see it. It'll still have this piece attached. I was just trying something a little different. My idea of a survival machete should be 12 inches or longer as far as blade length, 12 inches or longer, okay? The longer the reach, the easier it is, again, depending on your environment. I like a thicker blade. I don't want it to be too thin like the regular machetes I just showed you. They're very, very thin. Here's another example of probably way too thin. This happens to be made in China. Keep away from these things. These things are garbage. But again, you can see the thickness right there. Okay. For a survival machete, what I want is something a little thicker. So again, I live in the Northeast, so I need something to chop into woods, logs, that kind of thing. This works very well for me. It's not too long, it's not too short. The handle should have a very large, robust grip, because again, if you're using this all day long and you're swinging this, you will get taxed. Ideally, you want some type of lanyard hole to wrap your hand around it so you don't lose it in the woods, and a nice sheath that goes along with it. I don't think anything from 12 to, let's say, 16 inches or whatever should not have a sheath. It should have a sheath, okay, in my opinion. So that's the 1/7. If you guys are interested, that's on the website, threeriverblades.com. Check that out, all right? Condor makes a couple good ones. This happens to be a Parang. I'm a big fan of this. Again, like I said, I don't know if this is full tang or not. Probably not. Probably comes down to a thinner tang. Has a lanyard hole, but the grip itself is phenomenal. Okay, this happens to be of like a PVC type deal. You can also, I think I've seen these in orange. Thicker blade, very large sweeping blade, very good to cut and to chop. Also, does come with a sheath, which I'm a big fan of, and what I did with the pocket is to have some way to sharpen it. I just threw a sharpening stone in there. I think a sharpening stone or a sharpening steel is very important when working with machetes or any type of large blades, because what you really want to do is as you're working, it's just like a chainsaw. If anybody ever worked with a chainsaw, you know, as you use it, as you work it, it kind of gets dull and you start burning the wood instead of chopping. Same thing, all right? Kershaw has made this one. This one's not bad. This is a Kershaw. They still have it on Amazon. It's a little bit small for me as far as a machete goes or a chopping tool. It'll still work. It's more like a camp knife. It does have this nice sweeping belly. The handle is phenomenally comfortable. This is like that rubber material. 2 lanyard holes. The sheath itself is very, very good. And I know they make a larger version of this, but to me this is a really good camp knife. You can use it as a machete for small work, but not as much as large work, all right? Some things that I always take into the woods, like these are my 2 favorites. These are the ones that I use in the woods most often. All right, this is the Bolo style from Bark River. Okay, again, lanyard, nice comfortable handle. This handle, although it's a very large blade, it's a little bit thin for me. But what I like about it is this large sweeping belly helps me get a lot of chop into it. And again, this is the larger size of that. Okay, you can see the difference right here. All right, this one is when I really need to get some work done. And this to me is probably all I need as far as a chopping device. So if I need to cut down hardwood, I need to cut down, let's say I'm clearing an area, or if I need something like that, this to me is the ultimate survival machete, something along these lines. Okay, it's full tang all the way through. I think this is, I forget what steel this is, probably A2, some type of tool steel, large sweeping belly, more than 10 inches or 12 inches, lanyard hole in the back. And this does come with a nice leather sheath. But I will say, as far as leather goes, leather tends to deteriorate more often than not, especially out in the field. So I do have a leather protectant on these leather sheets. But again, it's, you know, it will get loose in the field, that kind of thing. But Bark River makes a great product, so I'm a big fan of those. I always carry those. Now, if you are someone that lives in a desert environment, let's see if I can pull this out. This is, and I don't know if they make this anymore. A good friend of mine, John from John Campbell Desert Survival School from Arizona, he designed this knife and Pro Tool made it. This is a very, very large piece of steel. All right, this is huge. This is ridiculous. But you can see this Bolo design again, this large sweeping belly. Now I reprofiled it. He had a little bit of problem with Pro Tool. But it's a great freaking chopper. This is over 1/4 inch thick, and the reason is because in the desert there's very little water. Obviously, he's from Arizona, right? So what happens is the wood becomes petrified, and when the wood becomes petrified, it becomes very, very hard, very, very difficult to cut, and you need a large chopping tool. So a skinny machete or something that was, let's say, let's see if I can find it now. So something like this is probably not going to cut it. I mean, it'll cut cactus and do all that kind of stuff, but again, you wanted something very heavy to deal with those types of woods. Okay. Tops again makes really, really good stuff. This happens to be, I think this was the Trace Rinaldi design. All right. Large knife, yeah. Machete, maybe. Definitely a good shelter builder. Again, you could see large thick blade, over 12 inches, has that belly again. I'm a big fan of that. Comfortable handle, very, very comfortable handle. Again, the only thing I don't like about Tops knives, I've said this before, is they make really crappy sheaths. Their sheaths are kind of crappy. They have all this little plasticky stuff that kind of breaks. Here's another good survival tool, the Steel Eagle 111A. They have different versions of this. What I liked about this knife, although it doesn't have any of those other features, it does have a saw on top, and the saw is actually long enough to make some cuts. So a really good survival blade. Again, nice handle, that kind of thing. So very, very, very large blade. Good for you on Tops. And again, Tops, made in the USA, all that good stuff. This is the El Chete, and good luck trying to get a hold of these. I bought these brand new when they came out. All right, this thing is a chopping beast. Okay, so El Chete, really good blade from Tops, and I can tell you that this thing is a beast. I have brought this many times out into the field. Lanyard hold, very comfortable handle. Notice how wide the handle is. Okay, that's going to be aces right there. Large finger choil right here, so you don't feel like this thing is too much of a burden. It looks almost like a big meat cleaver. Okay, so good on Tops for making those. Again, these knives are not cheap, they're expensive. All right, and this does come with a Kydex sheath, which I'm a big fan of. The belt clip is sufficient. I think it's a good belt clip. Definitely better with the Kydex sheath than with the Cordura. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Here's another one, kind of in the small section, but this is as far as cheap as far as you can get, like a budget item. K-bar. They call this a cutlass, but again, nice sweeping belly, gives me that chop, and also a very, very comfortable handle. Now this is not full tang, and I didn't say you had to be full tang, because what you're doing is you're doing a lot of whipping and chopping, and yes, if you got a full tang knife, it's a lot better because it'll be stronger. But again, depending on the size and the weight and your physical ability, and that's a big thing, guys, physical ability. Are you able to swing this thing, and how many times can you swing this thing? All right, this is a grass machete. You can tell by the different layers or the different cuts. This is not meant for wood at all. It's actually meant for grass and twines and that kind of thing. Very large, long blade. The sheath is kind of crappy, but you know, what can we say about that? And then we got a couple favorites here. This happens to be the Junglis or the Hunglis. All right, very large knife, very large camp knife. Why I threw this in there is, yes, you can swing it, but I mean, the comfortability in this is fantastic. It is just a large straight blade, but sometimes that's good enough. You don't have a lot of length on this, but it's long enough. Okay, so it's long enough to do the chores that you needed to do, especially when it comes to any type of shelter building. It'll work for you. And I also threw in there a little bit of a stone. Again, stone is going to be key. And then of course, let's finish up with some condors. All right, this is the Golok. Now, what I like about the Golok, I mean, it has this big meaty handle. I actually had to shave some of this down. It was so big and thick at the end. The Golok, again, is more of a chopper machete. It does come to a thinner stock at the end, and it gets kind of wide at the back. I kind of wish, I mean, that's to balance out the weight, obviously, because you have this large handle right here. Comes with a really nice leather sheath. And then I got a couple of these. Like, this is my second favorite as far as the bolo goes. This is the second favorite. This is the one I like a lot, is the Parang. All right, the Village Parang to me is tops. I really do like this one. 1075 steel, I believe. It does have, again, it has this large sweeping bulb at the end of it, so it doesn't slip out of your hands. But I mean, this will get it done, definitely. This will definitely get it done. And I do like that blade design. All right, all the weight is here, so you can just completely chop. And again, you're going to see the theme throughout the machetes that I like, where you can do both. I want to be able to cut vines, and I also want to be able to cut trees, just because of where I live. I think this is the Village Parang or something like that. It might not be right on the name, but again, you could see how wide the handles are, right? You want to be able to hold on to this thing. And you'll see, like, a lot of indigenous people, if you watch videos or have ever been to Africa, that kind of thing, they use the machete for everything. They use it for cooking, they use it for for vegetation, they use it for hunting, they do everything with it, all right? This is more of an American style. I don't believe this is an actual good machete. I just wanted to put it out there as something that's probably not a good idea. The way it is just basically it's a hollow grind, and you know, this is more of an Americanized type Condor, Bowie. I can't really call this a machete because there's no real need to have this in a machete. There just isn't. A lot of people who sell knives do things that are more Americanized, so it helps the sales, but it's really not. A couple other things, like Here's another thing. This is, I think this was United Cutlery. All right, you'll see this. This is the Hero's Edge 440 stainless. Very large knife, and this thing wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't made of cheap steel and it didn't have a hollow grind. Now, I know people have gotten very lucky with hollow grinds. I myself do a lot of hollow grinds on my blades, and for cutting and slicing it's great, but again, what you're trying to do with a machete is you're trying to chop. Okay, that's basically what the idea is you're chopping, you're trying to get all your stuff out of there. Okay, I just had this out here as well, just a K-bar, because K-bar, that's why. So K-bar is awesome. But I hope I gave you guys a little bit of an idea of what I'm really looking for as far as machetes go. Again, if you need a knife, go to threeriverblades.com. Check out all the blades we have up there. Okay, go to Three River Kydex. I hope this really helped you guys out. If you're interested, go down to the links below, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you very much, guys, and as always, stay safe.